image description. I'm sitting in front of a very light blue wall that almost looks white with some art you can see just barely behind me. And I'm wearing a green shirt and I have glasses on. It is such a pleasure to be here with you all and an honor to welcome tonight's readers, Jasmine Gibson and Danilo Machado, as well as Danilo's mentor in our Emerge Surface B fellowship program, the wonderful Ariel Goldberg, who will be introducing Danilo. Before I turn it over to them, I just have a few reminders and updates. Tonight's moderator, Corey Hutchinson, is adding a link to the chat now with some helpful Zoom tips and best practices. Please note that we are recording tonight's event. You are welcome to have your cameras on or off as you prefer, but please keep in mind that if you have your camera on, it's possible that your little tile will end up included in the archived video. I also want to note that it's possible to access a live transcript of tonight's event by clicking that little red live link in the top left and selecting View Stream, which will open the transcript in another browser window. If you have any Zoom questions or run into any difficulties, please don't hesitate to reach out to anyone with staff after their name and we'll be glad to help. So too, and crucially, if you experience or notice any maliciousness in the chat, please reach out to anyone on staff so we can work to get that resolved right away. We are grateful to you for joining us in the ongoing effort to build and nurture safer spaces where we can listen and learn together. Corey is now adding to the chat a link to our Statement of Safer Spaces. Whenever we gather, sharing our time, even if not our physical space, we remain committed to building with you all an environment that challenges and resists ongoing structures of hierarchy and harm. If this event were taking place in our usual venue, we would be gathered together now in St. Mark's Church in the Bowery, where we have hosted events for more than 50 years. St. Mark's Church was built over the site where Peter Stuyvesant constructed his family chapel in 1660. Stuyvesant enslaved 40 people, and in his time as Director General of New Netherland, increased the population of enslaved Africans in the colony, whose stolen lives and labor were used to construct the buildings and streets on this stolen land. St. Mark's Church is located on the unceded homeland of the Lenape people, Lenape-Ho-King. I am speaking to you tonight from what is called Sunset Park in Brooklyn, which is the unceded homeland of the Canarsie, a Munsee-speaking band of Lenape people. A neighborhood whose waterfront was redlined in the 1930s, a waterfront that is now the site of Municipal Detention Center, a federal prison where 1,600 people are currently experiencing incarceration. As we gather across various neighborhoods and states, it gives me occasion to remember that it's not just some of the land that was stolen or some of the land that needs to be returned, but all of it. It reminds me too that to return the land is not a matter of transferring capitalist ownership, but as many Indigenous thinkers have taught us, a radical rethinking of ownership and belonging, centering Indigenous autonomy and active relationality and responsibility. To reiterate Gloria Anzaldua's assertion, this land was Lenape-Ho-King always, and is, and will be again. Corey is putting a link to a map in the chat now, not to endorse it as complete, but to invite you to join us in learning continually about the land we occupy, its history and ties, as a path towards deeper accountability. Thank you for reflecting on this with me. It's my honor now to introduce Jasmine Gibson. I'm watching a video of Jasmine Gibson reading on YouTube, and next to it, as a reminder of my weakness for late night self-help videos, there's this thumbnail for a TED Talk called How to Figure Out What You Really Want. I feel tempted to click it, as if the problem were that I don't know what I really want, and not that what I really want can't exist at the same time as capitalism, white supremacy, the United States. Meanwhile, in the recording, Gibson is saying, quote, "The weight of my love for you is the failing of the global economy because it couldn't enumerate all the tongues and accents for joy. And the 9 of Cups echoing, I have everything I want. I am what I want." End quote. This is the wanting I want to hear about, I want to speak to, the kind Gibson describes elsewhere as, quote, "wanting to be in the light, in the dark," end quote. The cauldron of longing and dread and anticipation and subversion here at the end of this world. In Gibson's work, The love poem, the sex poem, the apocalypse poem, all roll into one, if one is the right number, like both watching the sunset and chasing it down, only to realize it's been night for years. In her incredible book, Don't Let Them See Me Like This, she writes, quote, I felt all of my insides on that street. I felt how they moved around, made space for, and squeezed in response to life on that street, doing everything in the broadness of the dark against the neighborhood of mutated life, suburban life that no one can afford, end quote. Which describes for me something like what it feels like to read these poems that do everything in the broadness of the dark, the future and past of it, desirous and angry and alive, choreographing a dance for the stage of capitalism's grave, reminding me that I don't need anyone else to tell me what I want because it's coming and it's here. It's my pleasure now to turn it over to Jasmine Gibson.
Thank you, Laura. It's great to be reading with Poetry Project again. It's been quite some time and I'm happy to be back, even if it's virtual. So I'm going to start off reading something that's a little bit different. I'm trying my hand at writing sci-fi, which I think everybody's trying to write novels right now because we have time and also no time. Once the blood ran dry, the plasma would soon flow. Once the plasma ran dry, the shit and bowel made their slow X's out of the party of existence. No one ever said that holding nature into a crucible was an easy task. Science and myth were always bedfellows and sometimes enemies. Madness was always around the corner with this project. Harvesting the life of another being was tricky and could only be socially acceptable for so long. The screams made it difficult for him and his team. The screams were beyond anything the scientists had ever comprehended. Comprehension was key to understanding the sound that emitted from Mazumbas on Jupiter's moon, Europa. It was unlike anything the team had ever heard, even on Earth. There were sounds that made blood run still, but they weren't on Earth anymore. This was Europa. They thought perhaps the screams of Mazumbas were particularly chilling due to the gravity of Jupiter's ice moon. But that wasn't it. It was gravity. It was also the cold indifference of space. It was, at least, that was what Ajax Loricon told himself. There was no God telling him no God screaming to stop, and why should there be? They received the blessing from the board of the directors of Replicorp, the first intergalactic corporation in space. What are ethics in comparison to sustaining life beyond the boundaries of the grip of planets? No, Ajax always strived to please and execute his plans with sharp accuracy. That is how he became the head scientist of his project. Project Lebens is what he called it. He knew that this fantasy could go on, but for so long. Citizenry was no longer useful in the value for the United Europa Federalist Corporation within the Europa colony on Jupiter. The protests and riots happening by Mazumba sympathizers had become annoying. He did not understand how they could be so ungrateful. Did they not see that he was trying to usher them into a new area of science? That this was about humanity's dominance over nature, over the stars, humans rightfully taking their place amongst the cosmos. Sure, it cost them a planet, but what that and a few European creatures to unlocking the key to immortality. Ajax was well aware of the rumors that there being a prophecy. In Ajax's opinion, the great asphyxiation didn't kill enough old soothsayers, the glorified witch doctors, he thought. Creating spells and speaking into ridiculous carbon-related beings like soil on Earth or graphite. Ridiculous, he thought. He was lost in thought. Speakers is what they were called in ancient times, and an absolute nuisance. After the great asphyxiation, they began to die at random. No, not just them, but other speakers that spoke into other elements like hydrogen, the life-giving elements. A fair trade-off he quietly mulled over. His family had long severed their ties to Earth and turned their eyes towards what was tangible and yet lofty, profit and space. Ajax sincerely thought Terran humans should be more grateful. He would ensure that their glorious time on Earth would mean something. A true alchemist, a better one than those soothsayers, he thought. Ajax knew that genius required sacrifice. He lightly chuckled to himself and thought that the soot speakers got something right. Every spell required intention and focus. He was willing to spend everything he had on it. If it begged him for sacrifice for his own family, even his beloved children, that would be the price he paid for unlocking the key to the cosmos. Exactly, he thought. How could he be worthy of life? How could any of us be worthy of life if we do not embrace death? A dust stain of neglected Earth caked onto the space shuttle and its passengers in a long forgotten virility of a planet, all preparing for the cold embrace of space. The last laborers to ship from Terra embark on their new journey to Europa, a moon of Jupiter. The dust fills lungs, coughing and sputtering ensues to rid people of the last caress of Terra. All passengers aboard the USS Zorg are tired, hungry, and lonely. Prior to boarding the shuttle, the passengers spent 6 Terran months in a relocation camp preparing for this journey. It was all bright lights and training on etiquette on how to best serve the United Europa Federalist Corp members. Over and over, it was drilled into passengers' heads. You should be grateful to serve such pioneers. This is because Terra has experienced the great asphyxiation that lasted for 5 years. The trees that once held oxygen to flow freely have now stopped because of the successful deforestation of major forests in the world. United Europa Federalists deemed this a success because it propelled technology forward and assisted in the colonization of the stars and the new Europa colony set up on the United Europa Federalist Corp colony. The side effect of this innovation was the massive number of deaths of speakers and people of speaker descent. Speakers were people that combined the energy of the 6 life-giving elements: oxygen, hydrogen, lithium, nitrogen, carbon, and helium. Some speakers found ways to bend time and speak to the dead. Naturally, the process following the deforestation of the planet meant famine, forced migration, and the great asphyxiation. The people of the old world said that speakers died because they were fools to cling on to a dying planet. Others spoke of speakers' deaths as the final sacrificial gesture that they could make to the universe. Either way, when global populations of mammal, marine, avian, and reptilian began to have, there was no longer a conversation of who was sacrificing who. Life was decimated, and global leaders played a role in it. Countries fell, sea levels rose, and dust claimed all that breathed. Thus rose the United Federalist Corp for those that survived among those nitro speakers. They were all hungry and tired and lonely. Cassandra and her mother's Lababina Ogun is aware at 4 years old that she's one of the lucky ones, comforted by the warmth of her mother's body and semi-comfortable snowsuit. Albeit she is bored and trying to guess her mother's age, but she's sure she looks like what the creatures that are known as angels. Cassandra is perplexed by how Abina's dark brown skin always catches the light, even in the darkest of places, like the hull of this space shuttle. The skin around her cheeks have gotten hollower. Cassandra asks her mother if she wants any of her replicati. She says, "No, baby, make sure you save some for the rest of the trip." She is delighted and continues to play with the ties in her gray, sheeny pants leg. Some kids are completely alone, dazed as if the light behind their eyes have been blown out. The lucky dazed ones have a window to stand on their tippy toes to look out as their home world gets smaller and smaller. The clutch of the gravity of terror has relented, and Cassandra can feel the popping of the lack of atmosphere in her ears. Cassandra began to think of her new life that waited for her on New Europa. She had never seen snow or large towns of ice and steel. This is all that waits for you. The caverns glitter like silver on when the moon does its rotation around Jupiter and the sun, said all the children in the transfer camp. Cassandra always thought it was funny that she was never seen anything that glittered. And when Cassandra told her mother this, she chuckled. "Baby, you know what Baby, what you know about glitter? Let me tell you about the stars who, on a nice clear night, you can see them glitter and dance across the sky. That was before the smog. And well, here we are now. Cassandra asked her mother what a star was, and her mother responded, "It's a big ball of gas like sun." Cassandra huffs and proclaims, "Mommy, the sun doesn't glitter, and we can't even play in the sun that much because it burns us." Cassandra considers this and responds, "I know, baby. It used to not be like that way." As she looks out at the heat waves cast off the asphalt in the yard of the transfer camp, the first stop on the voyage to New Europa was a water mining plant on the North Pole of Mars. There, the crew would collect fresh water and other supplies and keep the future laborers of New Europa somewhat fed. And to jump ahead, Cassandra felt the push and pull of space-time around her. It was as if the stars had combusted and dispersed within the small confinement of her skull. Was it her scream, or was she screaming from the gaping hole that was previously her mouth? There was no sound in space. The brain fills in the gaps and pressurizes the lack of comprehensions of the vastness of space. Why define space on my terms, she finally thought. She took in the colors, the oranges, the pinks, and the greens of the celestial struggle of worlds being born. They all leave behind this cradle of color to affirm their place in the cosmos. Galaxies that knew that the cost of coming into existence means the dissolution of a star, no matter how bright. Cassandra whirled amongst the light in the new and old stars. How beautiful and unworried about their own effect on others, she thought. She marveled as the burns of the colds and unfiltered starshine danced along her body. Light may be dead once it arrives me, but now I'm quivering at the seat of the cosmos, she thought. The shudder, or that's what she thought her body was doing in response to the cold of space. Cassandra thought back to her mother and what she taught her about breathing. The feeling is in the breath. Cassandra thought back to her mother's advice. Was it against common sense to listen to your body say, breathe in the stillness of space? Cassandra's mind was spinning at the gravity of this decision, the choice to be present at her own unraveling in the indifference of space. Just as she gave into her intuition to breathe, what is so indifferent about space when the basic rule is that things are and continue to be regardless of a preconceived idea of a form? She breathed in, and the speed at which her mind ran slowed. She exhaled, releasing the fear with the intention that this is too a mediation on death. She breathed in, and things felt different now. She was no longer cold. She was just one with the space between her and the dust space, and where dust encircles the stars. She embodied the blackness between the yet to be seen spaces of matter that bonded and connected everything that hung in the cosmos. She inhaled and felt the vibration of light and time running through her veins. She breathed in again, and there she felt it, energy, raw energy from the cosmic dust. She felt it all at the tips of her fingers, tingling around the vitiligo patches that adorn her skin like maps. The energy felt like a pool, a comfortable tension moving in and out around her. From the hair on her scalp to the ends of her toenails, she felt power, an ancient power, a power of carbon, of the cosmos, star power. She was dream, the thing that keeps you up from rest with fullness of possibilities. She was wish fulfillment distilled into a carbon sentient being in a sea of mass sentient beings that were alive and also were life and death's wishes. She contemplated if she were to become a trailing or tuber root system beneath the methane-filled ocean. And these are poems. Being asked to move into time, to places, wishes, and daydreams, and to rivets and seams, being asked to move into categorical understandings of regrets in order to fight against disintegration, carrying a placeholder for liminal spectrums, reading somersaults into lecture, move me, unmove me, plays into y'all's metaphoric understanding of the dreams which have yet to be realized. Wish onto me, unfurl around me, open, gasp, 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 cry out. There are ways to understand that to leave indelible marks onto membrane surfaces. We should all be lucky to exist, to not function. The eyes cease to work, the throat struggles to open, the air seeks love remarks. The skin wrinkles to make space for grandchildren we wish into the future. Au revoir, my love, you have my best and my sword to cut through the meat of life. Hopefully you have a better grip than me. Hello, long love. I seek you out amongst the fleshy, cavernous walls where memory lies. Food, not bombs. I find myself in you, stumbling into places when you spoke of witch hunts becoming part of primitive accumulation. The question also begged the present reality of who would be there to take care of children. We all know how to find that nick of love in a little knife play, welling up in the form of bright rubies, making space for Bakunin against the state form, and a space for potatoes. Seasoned Kropotkin in a quick sandwich. We know how to make do with what's given. We wish to extend this invitation to taste lemonade-flavored oceans with parsons hidden in a hint of dill, of onion-based broth, dialectical tricks, balagoon dictating movements of the body under stress, but with promise of relief, always. Always that our most vulnerable deserve love in warm, sunny places. Return of Saturn. I'm a cork on the ocean. I've searched through the peepholes of space, through cosmic brain, scoured and wrestled through tendrils, been rocked back and forth. Others have argued in my name that my essence is dead, but all in all, still very alive, buried and warm. How deep is the valley? How deep is the valley? Underneath the multitude of orgasms felt and unfelt, between bites of honeydew melon, within the deep and mucus-lined halls of history, gushing over my jaws, onto my chest, into your mouth, spit it back at me, I'm not offended. It kills my soul. And in that moment, I swear I almost reached Nirvana, but it was interrupted by 2 missed calls. Hello? Yes. The way you communicate makes me sick inside. Hello? Yes. Okay, you have a good one. With blood still wet on the ground, is this the question you can pull from your heart to ask me? Let the future and past remain unsplit. Uranus. Icky shame that I've placed into a box beneath a garden bed. I went down into the bed of the lake, fought against the pressure, fought against the burning of lung and esophagus lining, breaking open my ribcage to leave space for impossibilities to arise in future weapons, shivs and shanks to be formed with care, and whispers of evocations etched in marrow. We humbly invite you all and hope you accept our invitation to visit the final resting place of the capitalist stakeholders, petty landlords, and those that wished against life to sustain deadly pleasures of the pockets. We throw dirt upon the past. We bury your land deeds. We have no use for song because we have a disco right after such occasion. We have no tears to shed. We have been wrung dry. We have no praises to sing now that our tongues are untied. We have no caresses to leave the ungrateful dead because we finally have life. Perhaps Nikita was right. We should all bury them and let us get on with it and be done. What are we going to do now? Now that we understand that the center of life, a bangle of stars that circles in this cosmic echo, this blackness wherein which life is emitted, but also there is no escape from this primordial choreography. We've all been dreaming of Mother Destroyer, Mother, giver of all things, unpromising and uncompromising, destroyer, that everything must be accounted for, whether there is absence or presence of life. Blackness, after all, is absolution, and the speed of life must reckon its path to accommodate its expansiveness. Motherfucker, shut up. How many lives to live to this taste of sunshine and liberation? What will we do with our talents? Do we sell those along with the future? Or is this the message that's brought to you by a corporate sponsor that guarantees to rid itself of guilt that captor is made human at the sight of violence visit upon the captive and not the other way around? What will we do now when the organizations and institutions and states understand that change is not encompassed in identity reification, but is instead stampeded with liberation? What will we do now that we understand that the reading of trees, landscapes, caverns, and pillars have less to do with their existence and more to do with managing our own obsolescence? I am Eddie Hazel, here to set your synapses on fire, an electric spirit speaking through electric shadow, moving upon water in the dark. If you hear any noise, it's just me and the boys, bundling hope into a burlap funk sack. Mother Earth is pregnant for the 7th time and has decided birth can no longer be decided, and to encourage us to pass on the future enthusiastically or be eaten whole after getting caught on the afterbirth's teeth and grip. Here I stand, sonically informed. What if I let go of this attachment? Life is suffering, but the point to be made is to be made and remade in the practice of reaching an image. Love came my way. The weight of my love for you is the plantation on fire and every financial system choking on the gravity of reparations. The weight of my love for you is the antithesis of the results of pundits fervently insisting that cops exist in the future when every slave patrol has its day to meet its end. The weight of my love for you is the twisting of ankles after storming the gates of heaven. We all limp into the aftershock of a bender, letting you know to throw down the irons you found me in as I'm nodding off into oblivion that I wish to reside in. The weight of my love for you is the failing of the global economy because it couldn't enumerate all the tongues and accents for joy. And the Knight of Cups echoing, I have everything I want. I am what I want. It is our love song, our disco. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. Thank you so much. Those poems are incredible. And that novel, I was enthralled. I really want to know what happens next. Thank you so much for reading that and sharing that. And I'm so pleased now to turn it over to Ariel to introduce Danilo.
Hi, hello, hi, I'm Ariel Goldberg. Thank you, Jasmine. Just a quick image description. I'm a white genderqueer near some windows and plants in my apartment, and I'm here to introduce Danilo Machado. All right, in the past year, I'm going to be reading from a doc on the computer. Danilo and I met monthly, and they shared their work with me, and I'm often amazed at how much they do in practices of care, humor, humility, access, joy, decolonization, and also the breadth of their poetry, curating, and critical writing. So tonight, Danilo will read some new work alongside Drank Cold English Fast, which is a manuscript of poems that move across the page in all sorts of entanglements, often taking us through the reckoning of public and home spaces, micro and macro paths of movements, memories, relations to co-authoring those memories, and of course, ecstatic experiences with art. Danilo's work is filled with nuances of references. The poems become a bit like a precious phone book of art encounters. Calling up some inspiration, this method also prompts a draft about how to build a new future, not afraid of the big questions about how to undo the extreme precarity and laws defined by violence that dominate the lived realities of our present. In our first fully vaccinated in-person meeting a few weeks ago in April, Danilo gifted me with Even There Are Stars, which is a newsprint catalog, which they wrote an essay entitled To Build Another World. Inside this essay are little pockets of wisdom that buffer the close readings of the utopic mind experiments of the featured artists in this exhibition: Chitra Ganesh, Amaryllis de Jesus Molesky, Emily Oliveira, Tuesday Smiley. And Danilo toggles between these descriptions and takes the time to delve into the details also of their immediate quarantine life, the warped time of the pandemic. And their work makes me think differently about resistance and survival amidst the state's willful neglect for human life. And this happens in crafting modes of attention and presence. Danilo writes, "The stakes are high, but they have always been high." And the stakes for their poems are interdependence and connection in a never-ending sort of collaboration, building stanza by stanza. In a poem about self-portraits reflected in favorite works of art, one of the museums they work at, the building itself is also a work to be reflected in and from. So in Danilo's poems, you'll find tensions between mediating and meditating, an ever-present undressing of the local to transnational map, refusing the logic of borders and time and place as a way into the puzzles of diaspora. Thinking comes alive in their poems, usually as questions that challenge the unquestioned routines that rupture, all the while moon cycles and new rituals emerge. So I, in closing, often return to this question of how Danilo's curatorial and critical work connects back to their poetry. And I don't think a straightforward answer is ever in waiting. Instead, I have an invitation to calibrate and embrace this dissonance, the ways that things bounce off one another, depart, and inform contagions of experiments for sustaining creative lives. So I won't dwell too much on a very amazing long list of things that are going on with Danilo's curatorial work, but I did want to just plug that opening on May 15th is an exhibition at Socrates Sculpture Park, where their curatorial assistant that they've been organizing with Guadalupe Maravilla is happening, the exhibition Planeta Abuela. And also they've started a 7-week residency with Claire Kim called Streamline, which provides an artist studio space in Industry City, and the inaugural resident, Chiomara Shabas Castro Nicolescu, has a public program on Sunday, May 23rd. And I'll put some things in the chat, and you should also check out Danilo's criticism on hyperallergic, which is incredible. So that's enough gushing for now. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Danilo.
Ooh. Thank you so much, Ariel, and thank you all for being here. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Laura, and the whole Poetry Project team for everything you've done to make this possible. And I'm so honored to be in this rich legacy of the Emerge Surface B Fellowship. Yeah, I feel really grateful. Do a quick image description. I'm a queer brown person wearing a lilac jumpsuit, pink transparent glasses, black headphones, and I'm in my bedroom, which is also pink. And behind me is actually a scrap of one of Guadalupe Maravilla's sculptures, which will be exhibited at the park very soon. And behind it is a work by Zoe Hart. It's a tile that says otherwise, and behind that is a painting by Emily Miller. And of course, I have my copy of Jasmine Gibson's book over my shoulder. So yeah, thank you all. And this is Poem upon releasing a handful of painted walls in Not Mine Crown Heights, in Not Mine Brooklyn, and Not Mine New York, and Not Mine United States. It's a crisis. Do we negotiate discount upon signing another year, permission to drill holes for frames or shelves? Are metal doors open, pressing numbers? 4 floors and a rooftop to see sunsets or full moons or Kings County Hospital, sibling smokestacks, former poorhouse, almshouse. It's a crisis, and we've engulfed ourselves in leaves, pots on the sill, terracotta among records and pillows and the mail. Group thread with the neighbors, compost the community garden, down the street, past new pavement, new building. Who planted the trees on the few sidewalks we walk? Whose soil on whose land? Who, not I, not I, not I, not mine, not mine, not my, not from or of here, but here still. This is another Panini pandemic Honda replay poem. Lately, what's been returning has been nausea. Today, we're talking about return. There's little leaving lately, square feet on the same square feet. I'm always writing the same poem. Motion sickness from stillness, mild unalignment. Marwa says, I am made to leave, I am made to return. Crossed home off the mural for the title. Something about a blurry migration, something about the realizations of a body, something about cramped language, about holding it in your fist too tightly. Jasmine spells something about diasporas, something about the flimsiness of white supremacy. I met Byron Kim in the green room at the museum once. I'm obsessed with his paintings, his blue and gray and brown canvases of skin and skies and Sundays. After the talk, or was it before, he said I looked like someone he knew. Most of the poems, new poems I write, are written on Sunday. Maybe every finished poem is a draft of the next. I actually just had a call with Byron. We're doing a program at the museum next week, which I'll be sad to miss live for the Guadalupe's opening. But y'all should check it out. It's a virtual art history happy hour with Byron Kim and our curator, Erica Umali. These next 2 poems are New Year's poems, which means, of course, they're Poetry Project Marathon poems. Another year, this is 2020. Another year, another New Year's Day, taking the train to the church for poetry. On the two dikes rest their head on one another, talking with a friend about New Year's past. The 3 of them just missed the D at Barclays, where I'm waiting for the N. I sit next to the boy I was staring at Sterling, corded black headphones on, a blue beanie eventually taken off. All is the same, or at least continuation. Queers, mass travel, show affection. Boys gaze on platforms and moving cars, half poems started in black notebooks. On the other side of me, someone sketches a bust in 2B. Big eyes, shadows. It doesn't look like anyone on the train. And this is the first poem of 2021. Woke to early light, unfamiliar. Cut corner of lemon for my water. Started the stream again before the crepes. Broadcast engulfing, air thickening hour after hour. Some kind of ritual. Infusion, slowly drip. Maybe kind of prophecy, not in any specific way, but in the way that people and words return through the year. There are too many bodies and verses for it not to be. This next poem was inspired by a prompt by Marwa Halal, as I think most of my best poems are, and in part also inspired by the Nikita Giovanni poem Ego Tripping, There May Be a Reason Why, from 1968. It's called Telling. And it starts with a recent epigraph from Ted Reese from the book-length poem Thanksgiving. And that reads, "Let's thus shine these myths to make apparent the spots where arson is craved." Telling. Origin myth. Much before a further future elsewhere, you met in a drawing class. Another legend is that you were in labor almost 24 hours with me, who was indecisive. 7 years later, myth of a 2-year visa, tourist migration. My grandmother's house was waiting room until we rejoined our father. The door was always open, overhead windows cleared of everything but sun for hanging, spilling leaves, never yellowed. Here, the neighbor that came for lunch every afternoon is still alive. So is my grandmother. All her plants thriving on soil, always watered, never fought over. Connecticut, first winter, hands in snow, mythic. Legend was I didn't even spend a year in ESL. Learn the words easy, drank cold English fast. Much after living in the city, working to dissolve its myths on trains and walks, some surroundings dull, like nations. Still, others shine, transform. Look, our kitchen and its table. Legend has it, food is never cold. That water boils quick. All our records flip themselves. Always enough chairs, glasses filled, water or wine. Just last night, photo of a handwritten spell conjured layers of potatoes, eggs, sour cream for all. And just this morning, our new one-eyed pup got scared, bolted from the park, crossed avenue traffic, still saw his way back home. Some myths are borders, are administrations, and for now, return to. They just bought land in Medellin, soil to build new for when. Empty is myth, when is to. You walked into them one visit, mid-video call, blueprints on the table, going through the plot. This is the longest poem I've ever written. It's called Suggestion as More Profound or More Interesting Than the Thing Itself. And it contains words from Adrienne Rich, Jasmine Gibson, Allen Ginsberg, Terrence Hayes, Jenny Holzer, MRI machines, echocardiogram technicians, the New York Times, and the MTA. Suggestion as more profound or more interesting than the thing itself, or July. Winks, unfinished sentences, pointing at something and not the thing itself, shortcuts, abbreviations, contractions, burlesque even. Sometimes towards shared imagination, but others ungenerous. Some make room, comforts in uncertainty, fluidity welcomes spills, slipping. Does duality for duality's sake just serve indecision? Maybe. Protect flimsy rhetoric. There are more horrid sins. Something in the metaphor of the bow, which is never close enough to see the arrow, Adrienne says. Still, distance from directness is more safety than risk sometimes. And of course, we all deserve to be safe among everything, protected among everything, survival, unmetaphor, survival, the thing itself. Things unpacked, things unremembered. Sign says, thanks for traveling. Do you get carsick when you read? Rows of trees unsprung, Walt Whitman rest stop unvisited, Zoe Leonard presidencies, strobe light tunnels, birds in couplets, enumerated love poems, thumping through unrecent bridges, window seats, sand mountain seen from the easy pass lane. Sometimes familiarity is boredom or vice versa. All I do is write from and about these undestinations, excusing the poem's unarrival with the way travel works. Should we be getting somewhere? Buses with no destinations, ready to disappoint. Yellow golden letters read not in service, or optimistically, I love New York. In New York, movement anywhere, anytime is a right. Starting in January, low-income New York City residents who are at or below the federal poverty level may qualify for a half-price transit using a Fair Fares Metro card. Fair fares, fair fare. That is why transportation centers are home, so that the body without a home can finally rest, even in motion, capitalist sleepwalking tricks. Early on the late express, sunrise train, receptionist asks, "What's your wife's name?" After and before, horizon, horizontal, not yet here, all the more reason. The optometrist tells me my eyes aren't different enough to merit a new prescription. Aren't there lucid moments? You convert those into symbols, hoard see-through boxes, basement, closet, under bed, brimming crumpled printer paper. They're only tangible because of what they suggest. What are you grasping at? What are you carrying over your shoulders? I'm trying to come to the point. I refuse to give up my obsession. The string of white light bulbs on our roof stayed plugged in overnight once. Management hot glued the outlets. Recently, the machines in our white laundry room were rigged to refuse quarters by the gays downstairs. The suggestion makes something lighter or heavier. High heat reductions evaporate water out, stick to the bottom. Attention all tenants. Please be advised that due to extreme weather, pipes can freeze and potentially burst. The most profound things are inexpressible. Is it true, Jenny? Efficiently, effectively, probably, exclusively, almost, unmeaning, unending. Adrian calls it the technology of silence, the rituals, etiquette, all this unsaid creates some of what you don't like. Squints enable abuses, hushed tones, ableist class assumptions. You can and you should. Linguistic bait and switch, pull the carpet out from under you, yours, your. What's different? What's difference? What's the difference? Cafeteria etiquette, who eats where, who serves, who cleans. Plexiglass steaming, square compartments for each side, plastic utensils, connotative cons construct euphemisms for maintaining power, nods, and niceties. But still, you fetishize and aestheticize illegibility, incomplete, gone, Ligon, black accumulated oil stick, coal dust etched against a sharp white background. Of course, multitudes we all contain, of course, possibilities, contradictions, but again, to service what? Are they poeticized, inconsistencies and irreliabilities, clumsy praxis and failings tucked in end rhymes? Finality is uninteresting, but can't help being satisfying. Silence can be a plan rigorously executed to not confuse it with any kind of absence. Do not stand or move between cars. Do not hold doors. Do not lean on door. Too many holdings. Bursting bookshelf, plastic bins, panicked keeping in. Take a deep breath in and hold it. Breathe out. Stop. Elaboration is a form of pollution. What in fact I keep choosing are these words, these whispers, conversations from which time after time the truth breaks moist and green. I combine descriptions with ideas of forces. My photograph of night is like a text of symbols. Last night, on our walk home, we passed a glowing pink window and then a series of windows illuminated emerald by construction site bulbs. The untrained camera eye on my phone could not record the lights, as if it didn't believe them. So glad to be here with all this, the grid of names. This is Securing America's Promise. Securing America's Promise says the joke of a banner at the USAS office. On the top half, a flag sways in some imagined wind, and at the bottom are the punchlines: respect, integrity, ingenuity. It hangs below crooked portraits of the current president and secretaries, white borders inside cheap frames. To the banner's right is another flag, upright, redundant, and unwaving in a background of painted pale blue, unlike any color of sky, under a lineup of fluorescents on the ceiling, unlike any sun. This next poem is also a Marwa prompt poem, and in conversation with the billboards of Robert Montgomery and the work of Jenny Holzer, called Space Available. This is not an ad, not for poetry, not for nothing. This is no gentrifying, air-taking space. This is a poem about language, not yours, not mine. See it from the above ground train when it slows between cloudy windows and unlocals on the local. See, English aligns itself with power unevenly. English is badly managed, it's reckless, wrecked. English has caused enough problems. Let's cause some for English. All flip it, backflicks and bend and break and shuffle and redistribute wide. Unpolice, no military, even in metaphor, no poems but bodies, no poets but actions, no acts but of care. Make many hard commitments to softness still. This is the most recent thing I'll be sharing today. It's, I guess, a few weeks old. It's an untitled free write. Is Opening a Window a nature poem? The afternoon comes in before sunset, birds crackling sunflower seeds through headphones on the other side of the world. There is no river here that I know of. Dips in the concrete collecting water might be the closest thing. I remember the creek I'd walk past on Oak Lawn when my walking was longer and elsewhere. Now it's just for the dog who quickly urinates on the patch outside the door. It's anyone's guess how far he wants to walk or pull. Maple and New York aren't funny street names like that Nicole Maloof video, but of course that new is all violence, death and ruin everywhere. Misnomer, that could be a drag queen name. She's unmarried. Remember the ambulances last summer? I get up to close the window again. The breeze is colder. My leg was cramping anyway. Sometimes when the windows are open, the doors slam, some sort of slipstream. Remember last fall when the recommendation was to keep your window open to make that genocidal dinner safer? Spike, spike, spike. Two more poems. This poem is titled The Pores on My Arm open and open and open. And it's dedicated, it's from a line by Jan Henry Gray, and it's dedicated to Jan and Marwa and Devin and Alexis and Ariel and Stacy and Hime and you and you and you and us and after and with lines collectively read, ingrained, red, made, diasporic, euphoric, leg, legacies, lineage, line, age, line, pans, butter and flour, held and seen and taught and teaching and joint, separate supermarkets and spines and bus routes and in and to and through untrue America, America, Brooklyn, rooms, space making, cosmic, vibrating possibility, unsquint, no voice but chorus tender, listen, uncommitted English, folded white crease in our jacket pockets. We're speaking to ourselves again. It occurs to us, volumes. And this last poem is what I read at my first Poetry Project marathon this year. And it's in the form of a beautiful outlaw in which every stanza contains every letter of the alphabet except for one that is missing, and the missing letters form an acrostic. In this case, the acrostic spells the body, and the title is The Body is Missing. Ambiguous skin skimmed, unread limbs, hallways pressed for passes, prod, examine, quiz. Where you from? Born, joking, vulgar, cold, called, blank. In earlier stanzas of only words, I longed for more, wanted less language, felt unembodied, just conceptual, unsexed covers and underlines, queer only in books. Shush, silent, unspeaking whisper, decorative mannequins, ornament, indistinct afterthought, no development of character, decapitated, no plot points, quick statistic, misprized calculation, justification, accumulation, blurry amalgamation, abstraction, plastic showroom, focus group, faux, figure, figments, fragments, fixtures, false, neutralizations, naturalizations, evaporate and press thin, expect insisting fantasies of wellness and capacity, commit violences, dual imaginings of linear evenness and equivalencies, flat signifiers awash and kind of, catalogs, advertised, curated masses, organized for jam hegemony, not uprising. I am absent sync buzz cut, absent black eyelashes, absent hand washing, skin dry, absent external built-in chest vein, right atrium access, power port, saline flush, absent scarring, absent ghost pain, kept absent quiet, absent jitter, absent nerves, from forms, fill, files, and boxes, and biometrics, and EKGs, and MRIs, and x-rays, and gaps, and swirling fingerprints, and heart valves, scan crops, and airports, and hospital briefs, brief, and values, numeric, and jar jargon, and where am I? The latest expensive, exacting technology glitches, makes lazy portraits. Now, no flesh, no embrace, no breath, no uncovered mouth, no ungloved hand, no pulse, no push, not quite, all viral, all virtual, media, mediation, just torn torsos, text, zoom, pixel, pics, X on the upper corner to close. Thank you.
Danilo, thank you so much. That was so wonderful. I've been looking forward to this reading for so long, and I'm not at all ready for it to be over. Thank you so much, Danilo. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Thank you so much, Ariel. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. This was such a dream night. We're going to, right now, invite everyone to unmute themselves so you can share your praise and gratitude. And we'll go ahead and keep the Zoom room open for like 5-10 minutes if people want to chat, hang out a little bit. And thank you again so much for being here. Maddie, if you could invite everyone to unmute.